Has the original Audition sticker. You don't see many of those around. Normally they come off. That's not anything fancy, it's just a sort of label. It's a kind of metal foil label, the kind of thing that they put around those little chocolate coins you get in the sacks at Christmas. This has the original tuning pegs. A 6-in-line type of thing you'd find on similar to an acoustic guitar. Has the rosewood fingerboard, dot inlays. Cream binding. It's quite a nice, I don't know what the wood is on the neck, it's quite dark, might be mahogany or something. It's got a sort of poly finish, polyurethane sort of glossy finish. It has a string tree that goes across all the strings, which is quite unusual. It has the first fret there, just beyond the nut. Which, I think this guitar was made in the 70s, so the fact that it had these sort of extra things I think is quite good. It was a cheap guitar, I think it went for about £19, 19 and 6 or something back in the day. Has 2 single coil pickups, each of which is operated by a switch. It has a very peculiar sort of string saddle which has these wheels, which you can space the strings by turning these wheels. You can adjust the height by turning this up and down. It's a bit like a sort of Les Paul style, but there's no intonation available, so the intonation depends entirely on how this is fixed to the body of the guitar. But it doesn't sound too bad, weirdly enough. I think they seem to have got it quite well done. And then this rather odd tremolo with this sort of loose flapping arm and a spring under there. You can push it down to loosen the strings or pull it up to. It goes in both directions. Might have to fiddle with it to get it to go back to pitch. So on the bench here you can see the screws are well rusty. The pickup poles are quite rusty. Another interesting thing is this truss rod adjustment has holes all the way around it, so you can adjust it from any angle with anything really, a screwdriver or any kind of bar that you can push in there. So it's quite a nice idea actually. Makes adjustment very easy. Don't need any special tools. 2 switches, your volume and your tone control, and the jack socket. This one's got quite a lot of sort of crazing on the tremolo and on the arm here. Quite a lot of crazing on anything that's chrome. The body's a sunburst. It's in fairly good shape. There's not very many dings. There's a few things on the back. A few scratches and things on the back, around the edges. Things you'd expect. I mean, the guitar's 40 plus years old. And the one thing that's going to be a little bit of a problem is that the pick guard is bent. If I can get down here and show you. You can see it lifting there. It's all up and down, so I've got to sort that out somehow. The frets are pretty flat, to be honest. The fret wire's pretty flat. So I'm going to probably do a refret job. The edges of the frets are quite poorly finished. I seem to have just rounded them over this way. They're not particular. They are a bit sharp, and they're quite sharp actually. They don't feel particularly good, and they're all slightly different lengths. Some are further back from the binding than others, weirdly enough. So I don't think the fret job is great. This is obviously one way that they save cost. So my plan here is to completely restore it, give it a fret job, clean it, polish it, get the electrics to work, restring it, and basically bring it back to life. I think it's worth doing. It is the same guitar as I had for my first guitar. I got this on eBay. I think I paid about £60 for it. There was no guarantees with it, just a few pictures, and it hadn't been tested. And it doesn't work, but that's okay. I think I can probably fix it. So if you're interested, follow along, because this is going to be a series on how I do my first fret job and how I restore this guitar. The first thing I'm doing here is I've got my multimeter out and have it set to continuity, so I use this as a tester. With the switch in the down position, there's no connection. Weirdly enough, there should be a connection between those two, but there isn't. When it's in the up position, there's no connection there either. Same on this side, when it's in the up position, there's no connection. So I think that's telling me that the switches are both dead, which might have something to do with why the pickups weren't playing. Well, I used some of this Servisaw switch cleaner, sprayed it in here, and moved the switches up and down lots of times. And with the switch in the on position, which is up towards the pickup, we've got continuity on both of them now. Oops. I can't tell whether it's the switch connection or the solder. I think I'll reflow this solder and see if it makes any difference. About as good as it can get, really. I mean, it's soldered properly. So let's try again. Convinced that that switch is engaging as well as it could. Plug this in. Well, that's a relief. The fact that the pickups work, that the switches cleaned up, they do work now. I think they were just fully corroded, so there was nothing getting through, no signal getting through. It could have been a cold solder or a dry joint, I don't know, but it didn't hurt to reflow the solder and clean everything. Next thing is everything's got to come off of this, and this pick plate has to be straightened.